Good morning everyone, welcome to 15 Minutes of Thought. My name is Dr. J.D. Swanson, I'm the author of Karate Science. And today what we're doing is our last part 4 of Heian Godan. It's a really deep dive, but hopefully the kata's improving, right? Hopefully you're not just making shapes, but rather making dynamic movement, yeah? This is really important for your karate training. So what we're going to do today is we're going to carry on, including the jump, and just finish out the kata. So with that, let's get started. Hey. Us. Very good. So what I want you to do is go through the whole kata to warm up, go through it 10, 20 times, right, up to the point of where we're at. So thinking about all the pieces from the first as you move, think about those actions, boom, 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 around, feed, kick, drop, 1, 2. Right, go through all of those actions of the kata first to warm up and get your body loose. Because from there, we're going to go into the jump. Good, so you've gone through the kata up to that point, sort of 10, 20 times, you feel nice and warm, body's loose, let's carry on. So the jump is exciting, right? And when you think of the jump, I'm not thinking of the classic best karate, somebody freaking swinging a stick at my legs. I have had that done with a towel at camp by some very angry Japanese instructors. That was very helpful. We also did it with MP and it was very tearful. So as you go through, the key point is making sure that you lift your knees. These jumps, in my mind, are not applications to people swinging things at your legs. They can be, obviously, but that's really not their main function. Their main function, to me, is the idea of being able to do something that requires strength. And so the best way to develop strength in your legs, of course, is to jump, right? Making that nice plyometric movement. So as you make this, my interpretation of a lot of these is not necessarily a jumping function, but the jumping creates functionality to the movement. So as you go through this, think about that. You know, for MP, if you go back to the Okinawan version of MP Wanshu, look at Ishinru, right? They have the drop arm, and then instead of doing the jump, they're simply, it's very obvious, they're grabbing somebody under the crutch and the throat, lifting them up on their shoulders, and then throwing them off, right? That's very clear. And if you look at some of Tanaka Sensei's old video footage, you notice he actually makes those kinds of actions and demonstrations and so forth. He's just doing MP. Okay, so for me, to lift up somebody requires a lot of strength. Hence, the jump in MP develops that strength. It's the same thing here. In my mind, this is one of Dr. Elmer Schmeizer's applications, is the idea here, grabbing somebody's head and screwing it off as you turn around. So again, developing that hip torque and that jump, that movement gives you that in the jump. So that's just sort of my interpretation of that. That being said, let's work on the jump. So there's some elements, right? From here, I do mine from a very sort of balanced position. As I make the jump, what I'm thinking about is I'm thinking of it as a 1-2 action. One knee, then the other. So what I do is I wait until the apex, and you can sort of feel this in the jump. If I make my jump and I lift, I can feel the apex of my height. I can feel the height of that step. As I make it almost like a tuck jump, I'm here, I can feel, there, that's the end of the jump. That's up, and then I start coming down. As soon as I feel that piece starting to come down, I then fire the other leg up to get me more sort of air time. So the worst thing that you can do is make the jump. You want it to be we'll go back. Make it as a sort of 1-2 action. So as I make my jump, I'm here, 1, 2, 3. Right, as I'm here, 1, 2, 3. That feeling, and I'm using my arms, pulling them both back as well to help me lift. I'm using all parts of my body. This, and this, all timed together to get me in the air. So thinking here, this idea of 1, 2, feeling, right? Now the worst thing that you can do is don't just bend at your knees. Don't do the jump, and I hope I don't break myself on camera. Don't do the jump like this, right? Don't just lift your legs to your bum, right? That's not the point. Very, very, very good sort of plyometric exercise, right? These sorts of jumps. But you don't. You want this to be more akin to a tuck jump, right? The idea of here, or even a split knee jump, right? Here, these kinds of movements. So allow this to come up. Lift through your hip flexor. So how I do this, notice my turn is pretty much done beforehand, and all I'm doing is just lifting here. Don't think that you have to jump, turn in the air, and then land. No, make it easy on yourself. Turn, lift, right? Turn, hello, lift. This feeling. Lift both knees up, nice and high. And down. That feeling, allow that to actually occur. The last piece is make sure that you land in kosadachi, jujuke. So something that's important is by lifting both legs nice and high, it gives you plenty of time to get your landing gear down. And as you land, make sure nice jujuke, pushing straight out, chudan, not geidan, chudan, right, nicely blocked out, nicely set out. So from here, the end movement ends up, I'll do it from this angle, ends up looking something like this, hopefully. And then you can easily move to the next technique, right? So allow yourself to lift up in the air, come down, get your landing gear down, and connect. Then, easy to shift. Give that a go. Excellent. So you've got the jump kind of under control. It's about developing that leg action, that leg strength. The next piece of the kata, right, from here, and they always have you hold here. What I encourage you to do is make sure that you can grab. Remember, kosadachi is an inside pressure stance. So as you land, squeeze with your legs. Squeeze with your legs. Then you can place your leg out as needed. So make sure that you do that squeeze. From here, we make the jump, boom, boom, we're down, we land. Now from here, simply transfer your weight, move out on line, right? So I'm here into Marotayuke, right? So you want this kind of linear. So I'm here, step it out in line, or pretty close to it, right? So here, out, right? Again, when I say in line, I'm not meaning like walking a tightrope. I'm meaning it's just a fairly narrow stance, right? Not my usual width, a little bit narrower in this particular case. So, we're here, feel, now from here, feel that switch. One, so just simply, one, make the block here. Again, if any of you have worked with Steve Ubel, he's very antsy making the shuto. He's always turn it all the way around. If you're blocking a kick with this is going to break. Open your hand and use your whole hand. If you're testing or in tournament, make sure it's shuto because that's what the kata says. So from here, make one, right? Then from here, simply turn, two. Again, the feet are very much in line, and where they fall, hopefully you can sort of see it, and hopefully I'm not too close, is that as you make this, notice my heel, if I simply rotate on the ball of my foot, my feet are now in kokutsudachi. They're able to go. So I'm not so far out that my heels are here, and if I rotate my foot in, notice I'm not in kokutsu, I'm too wide. Rather what I'm doing is I'm inside, I'm in a shallow stance, like width-wise, I'm really hip width. Then I turn in, that brings us right on the other side of this line, which will give me the ability to hit kokutsu and have my heels, remember, not here and here, not stacked, but side by side, which is, in my opinion, where they should be, right? Not from here, but rather from here. Okay, that gives you that little bit of side-to-side stability. So, from here, think out, then 1, 2, right? Really important, turn this hip all the way around, turn your foot around, push under, don't lean, under like so. Then from here, so let's stop there, practice that set of actions, right? From here, right, here, 1, 2, right, and hold. Let's talk about the transition next. Give that a go. Excellent. So we're in this position. Now simply allow, when I was little, we used to shift our foot in. So we'd be here and we'd shift our foot in. That is not quite correct. Okazaki Sensei Jr., Okazaki Shihan, he does it, he always said keep your feet in the same place, and it always bugged me for years. How do you do that? Because I would be in regular width zenkuts, and then as I made the transition, I'd have to shift to make the kokuts. You don't. Stances, believe it or not, and I'm going to go to karate hell here, are not shoulder width apart. They're hip width apart. That's the distance you need. When you start and you're teaching beginners, yeah, they need to be to get them to understand that stability, but as you advance, they narrow up. Now that narrowing up, if you notice, if I turn on the ball of my foot, brings it almost in line with my other foot, like so. And this is exact kokutsudachi width, right? So I know I'm going against lots of textbooks here, but mechanically, this just works better. So when I make this drive, I'm not in a super wide stance. I'm actually in a fairly narrow stance. As far as I can get, there comes a point where if I go narrow, my hip just can't turn. I'm still at a point where my hips can freely turn and lock in place. But what I'm doing now is when I make that shift, my back heel will slip underneath me and I can pull back. And this is incorrect kokutsudachi. My feet are in fact in line, right? I'll try and square off to you. So I'm here, as I shift, foot shifts, I can pull, I'm in good classic kokutsudachi. So this is an important piece. What that does for you is if you're doing the application where you've come down, you've struck into the side of the leg or grab the groin, you're pulling or you're upending them all, pulling their bits off, and you get the idea, right? What I'm doing is if I shift, that's unstable. If I've got a solid base here, it's very hard for me to release this leg. I want to use this leg as the driving leg to pull up. So it allows me this back foot to move as such. There'll be a slight twitch in the front leg because you're pushing hard, but for all intents and purposes, it stays where it needs to be. The key thing is moving your body center from here to here. And that, if you look at Nakayama Sensei's Best Karate, really was one of his important points. So allow that drive and pull. So what I want you to practice to start with is just the idea of being here, 1, 2, then turn in, now turn 1 and pull. Practice that piece. And then we'll talk about what the hands are doing through those movements. So practice the leg work first, we'll layer in the arms afterwards. Give it a go. Very good. So you've got that piece, you've got kind of the feet kind of under control, or the legs kind of under control. Let's talk about what the hands are doing. So there's 2 interpretations for the hands. Number 1, as I come round, I just go straight down. But the better and more common way, and this is one that Sensei Kathy Klein really, she's the highest ranked woman in Shotokan. She really emphasizes this. And I really like the feeling of this. As you do this motion, as you go, feel it rather come round. Feel it almost like the chop. So as a hip swing, allow it to strike down, boom, straight into the femoral artery on the leg. What that does, if you hit yourself there, it just feels kind of gross, right? It feels horrible. So allowing that takes the weight out of the front leg, allows you to grab and then upend them in the next movement, right? So would tapping somebody in the groin as well, point taken. But for me, boom, that feeling is nice. My hand's already there and I'm ripping, I'm pulling. Okay, so that's the first piece. So we're here, 1, 2. Then as you pull, Manji-uke comes on the outside and up this way. Hands, Okazaki Sensei was always very, it was a common aspect to his teaching. The hands were always open till the end of Manji-uke. That's up to you. Kanazawa, the Uchi-uke goes on the outside. Kanazawa Sensei used to pull his on the inside and have his hands closed. It's all up to you. That is all stylistic. But make sure that as you go, the thing that is important, that this hip, this knee, this body connects at the same time, right? So go away, have a go with those couple of pieces. Have a go with the hands, round versus linear, outside versus inside, but make sure the whole thing is done with good feeling and good timing. The way that we do it in ISKF, loops round, outside, and locks. Make sure here that the feeling, last piece, is that this is pulling away, this is pulling down, on that nice straight line, linear kind of feeling. Give it a go. Excellent. So we've just come around, boom, boom, we've pulled. From here now, just make the squeeze. So this feeling is preparing you for kata like Sorchin, right? Where they have these beautiful, big, constant feeling actions, right? This is preparing you for that. So allow, squeeze up, and allow it to be a single breath as it goes. So nice and easy, boom, boom, feel, right here, feel, then pull. Good. The next movement, there's 3 ways you can do this. And as you're learning, you employ one. Once that feels good, you employ the second, and then you can do it properly, the third. So the first one was how Kanazawa Sensei often taught this. From here, simply make another manjuke. Right, this kind of feeling. So you're here, you pull up, make manjuke, and then from here, drive down and pull into the last movement. That's option number 1. Things that are important, timing, 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 right? This feeling. The second way, much more fluid. And again, as this moves, it's still a big action of the hips. My hips are still going one way all the way to the other, right? But again, this movement is about loosening the hips up. It's about teaching fluidity for, guess what? Basaidai, right? That's coming on down the road. So as you make this, rather than making it sort of a very distinctive pom, pom, simply smooth the action out. Make it still big, but smooth. So how that works is you simply switch like so. So it's here, big action, hands cover, notice, same, right? But my hips never stop moving. Here, 1, 2. Again, allowing my body, my hip, my elbow to drive in with the technique as I need and as I want, yeah? So that's option 2, and then this, same. Right, so here, feeling is 1, 2, then 3, that feeling. The last way is the way that Sensei Robin Riley really enforced this with me. And he gives me a lot of times these very blank stares, which I'm, why are you doing it that way? You're an idiot. And that's more often the case. If you've been following the series, you've already figured that out. But as I move, how he does is he's like, don't turn your hip all the way. Keep the hand action the same, keep it to here, and then just throw. So it's a much shorter hip action. It's not all the way through, it's simply squared and pushed. It's simply squared and pushed in. So it's a much more subtle hip action. If you look, this is the one they do in Best Karate, and it's the more correct, but far more difficult way to do it. So as you go, the feeling is now in. Much more fast. You've got to have much more tighter control on your body center as you do that technique. Right, so you've got 3 different ways. 1, 2, and 3. In. They're all exactly the same, but different. Give those a go, and then we'll finish out the kata. Excellent. So let's carry on with the last move. So we're here. Whichever way you choose to do it, I'm going to do it Sensei Riley's way because he'll yell at me. 1, 2. Now we make the regular drop. Here, back foot comes in. Now getting out of this kata becomes important. I'm just squaring off to you. As I come out, don't do anything fancy with the arms. A lot of people sort of lose control, lose zanshin at this point. Don't. Move through the shoulder, leave this arm where it is, and cross. Cross and come out. So this way, the whole body is involved. It's not the separate arm action from everything else, and your sense of control is lost. Rather, think, breath in, and out. And out. Nice and relaxed. And with that, that's Heian Godan in 4 easy parts. I hope you have an awesome day. I may or may not have a surprise for you next class, but we'll see, and we'll talk about it then. So with that, awesome to hang out with you as always. Have a great rest of your day or evening or whatever, and I'll talk again soon. Hey, us. Thank you very much.